Hello, welcome back to my channel Crocheted by Ailey. Today we are going to be making this candy cane Christmas pillow, which is a bit of a tricky project, but it looks great once you're finished. This video is split into two parts as it is quite long. For this project you will need 2 balls of chunky weight chenille yarn, one red and one white, probably. Unless you fancy making a green candy cane or some other colour. I'll be using 1 ball of Plushy Pals by Knitcraft and 1 of Woolen's Bunny Baby. The Plushy Pals is unfortunately discontinued, but you can buy Woolen's Bunny Baby on TikTok Shop. You will also need a 6mm crochet hook, some scissors, and a stitch marker will probably be very useful as well. Let's get started. We're going to start with our white yarn to do the candy cane, and we are going to start off with a magic circle. So to do that, you'll hold your yarn, wind it around and pull it through just as if you're doing a slip knot. I then like to pull mine very tight when using chenille yarn, just because it's so hard to pull the hole tight after. You're then going to do 6 single crochets into the hole. So that's 1, 2, 3, and try to pull mine a bit tighter. As you can see, it just totally starts to shred when you try to pull it tighter. That is 4, 5, and 6. So see, there's a little bit of a gap there. If yours won't pull tighter like mine, then you can use thread to pull the hole tighter. Alternatively, to doing a magic circle, you can also chain 2 and then do 6 single crochets in the first chain, and it's pretty much the same effect. So we're now going to start our first round, because I count the magic circle as like your round 0, so we're now starting our first round, and we're going to do an increase in every stitch to bring us to a total of 12 stitches. So insert your hook, and you're going to do 2 single crochets in every stitch. So that is 1 and 2, and same in the next one. That is 1 and 2, and the third one, 1 and now 2. There's 1 and 2. And now we're in our 6th one. We're going to do 2 to increase again. And that should be us finished our first row. So I will just count to double check. I have 12. Perfect. So I'm now just going to mark this stitch, just because from now on it gets a little bit harder to work out where you have started each round. There you go. So now for our round 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase in the next stitch, and we're going to repeat that all the way around to bring us up to 18 total stitches. So start off with a single crochet in that one there, and then we'll increase in the next stitch, and then we're doing a single crochet and an increase, a single crochet and an increase, in our last stitch here we are going to finish off with an increase, and that is us finished our second row. I will just count to make sure I have 18. Perfect. So this time we are going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase. We will repeat that all the way around to bring us up to 24 stitches. That's our 2 single crochets, and we're now going to increase. Now single crochet in the next stitch and increase. And we're now back to single crochet, another single crochet and our increase. This is me on my final stitch of this round. We're doing our increase. Okay, and I will just count to double check I have 24. Perfect. So for round 4 we are now going to just do 3 single crochets and then our increase to bring it up to a total of 30, and that will be the maximum width of our candy cane. We're never going to get wider than 30 stitches. So do 1 single crochet, the next stitch, and 1 in the next stitch, and we're now going to increase. And back to our single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and we're now going to increase. Okay, that is me finished our round 4. I'm just going to try pull my inside a little tighter, just to stop it sticking out quite so much at the bottom. It does look a bit triangular shaped right now, but it will start to sit more rounded once you do more and once it is stuffed as well. So now for rounds 5 to 7, we are just going to single crochet all the way round until we get to the point on round 7 where we are going to switch to rad. So you'll simply just single crochet for 30 stitches, and you will do that 3 times for rounds 5, 6 and 7, and then I will show you how to switch to rad. I have now come to the end of my 7th round, I believe. Yeah, 7. So we are now going to move on to 8, and this is the point we are going to switch to our red or our second colour. So I'm simply just going to do a slip stitch to pull that through, and then, slip stitch into the next chain, there, slip stitch into there, then yarn over, pull that through. You will then just cut a short tail and then I like to tie that in a knot just so it does not become untied. And you're now ready to move on to red. Okay, we're now going to start the red. So you're going to start off with a stitch in that stitch just there, just after your white has finished. So we're going to do a standing stitch, and by that I mean we will do our slip knot, pull that nice and tight. You're then going to go into that stitch there with the yarn already on your hook and pull it through, and there you have your first stitch. You're then going to single crochet all the way around, and as you can see I'm tying that white tail in as I do it, just so it doesn't become loose, even though it will be on the inside, so it won't really matter. So you're just going to do your 30 single crochets just as you were doing before in red, and then once you get round here I will show you how to start the next row to make the colour switch just a little more seamless. Okay, as you can see I am nearly back at where I started. So this bit is a little bit tricky. We're going to try, because as you can see there's a sort of step there. We're going to do a single crochet into the last white one, which is your slip stitch. There, and you see if we just kept going there would be this sort of like step up there. So what we're gonna do is this stitch will be like an extra long stitch. So you're going to basically go into the row before where your red one there started and do like a long stitch, and as you can see it pulls it closer. You're then going to just do a single crochet into the red again. There, and as you can see the step's not quite so obvious. There's a bit of a mark, but we will put this on the inside of our candy cane, so like if it will be kind of like there, and your candy cane will curve this way, so it won't be so noticeable. So you're now going to just repeat what we've done for the last row, but there won't be any funny stitches because you'll just be doing all red. And you're going to do that for 6 rounds. So this is our first one. You will do 5 more, and then you will switch to white just as we switch to red here. So I'll show you how to switch to white once I finish my red, just to show you again. Okay, so I've now finished my red section. I'm just going to do the same as I did before, slip stitch into that next stitch and fasten off. So I will now be switching to white. So I'll take my yarn. I'm going to do a slip stitch as I did before. And we are now going to single crochet into that first stitch there. And you're just going to do your 30 single crochets all the way around until you get back here. So you're just going to repeat this process we have done for the red with your white. You will then go back to red, back to white and back to red, which should leave you with a total of 3 white sections and 3 red sections. And once you have finished that is when we will start the curved section. Okay, so that is nearly me back round. So just as we did before, you're going to do a normal single crochet into the stitch that was your slip stitch. Then you're going to do your funny wide stitch into that gap just there. Just a normal single crochet, just to, you see, bring our colour change slightly closer so it looks less obvious. You'll then just single crochet into that first white stitch, and you will continue on for your second round. You're again going to do 6 rounds just as you have done for the red, and you will repeat that until you have done your 3rd red section. So you'll just need to do this white section 1 more, and you will also need to do 2 more red sections, and then I will come back and show you how to start making the curved section of your candy cane. Now you've finished your 3rd red section, so you should have your 3 white sections and your 3 red sections. We're going to start the curve of the candy cane. So to start off with, you're just going to crochet 1 round as normal. So take a hook. You're just going to start off as you did before, the slip knot, and insert it into that stitch there. You're just going to crochet 1 round exactly as you have done before. Okay, so we've done our first round as normal, and now comes the tricky bit, because we're going to do a round but it's only going to be half a round. So we're going to start here and we're just going to go halfway round and then stop. So rather than cutting this, what I'm going to try to do is find the other end of my ball, or if you have more than one ball you could use that. There we go. So I find my end from the inside, so I'm going to use this. I'll just get my stitch marker. Just to hold this loop. So I'm going to count to roughly halfway round. So that should be, say, about 7 stitches along. 7. I'm going to start on this one here, which would be number 8. So you're going to just start off with a slip knot, insert that into the stitch, and for the first one you will, to be honest, I'll just start off with a normal stitch. Actually, I can't exactly remember if I did that before, if I did slip stitches, but either way work the same. So you're going to go round until you have 7 stitches left before this point here on the other side. So I'm not exactly sure what number that should be, but I think it should be about 15. Oh, it should be 15 if you're going halfway round. Okay, that should be me halfway round. As you can see, it just about lines up with the other side. I'm actually going to do one more, so I think I've done 16. To be honest, it doesn't totally matter if you're 1 or 2 stitches out, because as long as you're making sure you're doing your extra stitches on one side, it's obviously still going to curve round. Although if they are too uneven, it will start to curve at the wrong angle, I suppose. So you're just going to fasten off there, take your scissors, cut that, leave that tail though for the next row when you have to do that again. So now we've done that first one, what you're going to do is just crochet another normal round. I suppose it would be pretty much normal. Not totally, because obviously you've got that extra bit there to jump over. So you see the next stitch is the one where the extra bit joins. So you'll just go into the top one instead on your half round, and you see just a seamless join. There, that's us on the last one of our mini row. And then you're just going to go down to the row there. As you can see, it's not very obvious at all what you've done unless you look really quite closely. So we are just going to continue and that is us back to the start of our round. So you see there it's wider on that side than it is on this side. We are going to do this one more time for this white section, so like the half round thing. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. And you put that there. You're going to take your other end, and this time, if you can see where your first extra stitch is there, you're going to do that basically above, slightly to the side though. So rather than it being like the stitch directly above, the first one you did before is going to be slightly to the side. So this one here rather than this one there. There, and you're going to go round. And I think this time you will just do 14 instead of the 16 you did last time. So that's 1, 2. And one more. So that's 14. You're just going to fasten off and pull that through. Okay, now what we're going to do is 2 more of these sort of half rows, but they're going to go slightly further down to make it less like obvious. I'll show you better, easier to show than explain. So I was actually wrong when I said that you could leave this, because you actually will just need to fasten off, because we're not going to do another full round. So you can just fasten off with that end there. So we're going to start with the first of these ones. We'll start just here, you see, just before we actually started the increased bit, on the first sort of half round. So that will be on the 7th stitch in. So the first round we started on the 8th one, then this time you're starting on the 7th, so you're just slightly closer in. And you're just going to go around as you did before. Now we're doing our jump down. And we just need to do one more, which will be our finishing stitch. There you go, and you're going to pull that to fasten off. And if we we go back round to the other side. We're going to do one more of these. We're going to start a little bit closer in though this time, just to make the triangle shape look a little more smooth. So if you take your end, it's all tangled. Okay. This time you're going to count just 1, 2, 3 and start on the 4th one. And you're going to go around just as you did last time. Make sure when you're doing this you're not accidentally going into that stitch there, which that one's joining, and then that one, because then you'll end up increasing with extra stitches, which will make your candy cane become wider. Okay, we're now doing our jump down. So that was our first one, and we're going to do 2 more after where we jump down, and that is you. So you're going to fasten off, chop that tail, and that is you finished your first increase of the white section. So as you can see now, we've done that last row is a lot more smooth, not so much on this side. I don't quite know why that is, just something about the way your stitches are, I guess. But anyway, we will move on to the red section next, and I will show you how to do it again, because you will do each row just slightly differently. Okay, so we're now going to move on to our next red section. So you're just going to start off with a stitch in that first stitch after you ended your white row, just so you've started all your other rows. And then you're just going to do 1 round of single crochets as normal, and I'll meet you when you get back to where you started. Okay, and for this last stitch, we are just going to slip stitch into your first red stitch from the next row. Pull that through, and you're just going to fasten off, because this time you're not going to do any more full rounds, they're all just going to be partial. So there will be a lot of stopping and starting, I guess you would call it. So we're going to start pretty much where we started for our last, on the white section, which I think was 7 stitches in. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just remember that stitch there. You're going to do your slip knot, and you're going to go round until you're 7 stitches away from the start on this side. Okay, for some reason my counting, it seems to have gone slightly off. I think I have moved these stitches along somehow. So anyway, I've ended up being more than 7 off on this side. But that is okay, it is more important that we'll line it up with this row before. Because otherwise your curve will probably go squint. So as you can see, I am just 1 across from being directly above where we did the first 2 stitches in the white. So I'm going to do slip stitch and fasten off. For this next row, we're basically just going to start 1 stitch before and then finish 1 stitch after our second row. So starting this stitch here, and go around until you're 1 stitch after on the other side. Okay, there we go. So you've just done 1 stitch after. We are going to fasten off. And we are just going to do pretty much the exact same again. So you're going to start, well this time, this time we are going to start 1 before, then the time after we'll go slightly further to do 2. So just 1 before. There we go. Done 1 more. You're now going to fasten off. So if I puff out the candy cane a little bit to sort of give it its round shape, you can see that we are now starting to get a more rounded shape. The more we build up, the more it will start to curve. So this time, like I said, instead of just doing 1 before, we're going to start 2 before, and then it will do just the same as we've done before, except on the other side you're also going to finish 2 after the row before. My red fluffs are flying everywhere. So the problem with chenille yarn. Okay, now this is done, we went for 2 after our last row, and now we just need to do our last row to bring us up to 6. So for this one, we are going to just start 1 before this time, and we will finish 1 after. So that's 1 before there. Okay, we just done 1 after. So that is you finished your red section. There, as you can see, we're already starting to curve a little bit. If I show you the whole thing, kind of hard. But yeah, as you can see, the top is starting to curve around just a little bit. So you're going to repeat exactly what you've done for this red section for the next white section, but then you will do the red section after that slightly differently. So I will come back and show you how to do the next white section.